courthouse, D.C. This is the court claims. There is the U.S. Marshal's office is to the right-hand side. Now, I was working with the U.S. Marshals, too. I had just gotten a case open with them, and with, of course, the head of D.C., his name is Tom, with missing exploited children. And he found out he was duped by California, missing exploited children, and Alabama, missing exploited children. So, as we're talking, this one, he was like a big security for the U.S. Marshals, big, huge, black guy, looked like a linebacker, and actually all of them did. But anyway, we got to know each other pretty well over like a 3-month period of time, and you know, we would joke and laugh. My dad and I, we were in suits. We thought we were lawyers, what it was, and because I was filing info for her. And so one day he asked me as I'm leaving, it was a Friday, and he says, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" Out of nowhere. And I kid you not, the guy, like, it says if somebody called him and, you know, like he switched on me out of nowhere. It was so bizarre. He said, what kind of case do you have? And I didn't want to elaborate, so I just said, I'm fighting a human trafficking case. He said, and that's all he said. And basically, yada yada, we talked for a few minutes, and he says, I want to tell you something. You know what I think? He says, I think they took your son because they couldn't get you. Now, my dad's a few feet away. He sees me, and I turn chalk white. I mean, the blood drained out of my face. And I just stood there shocked because I never told the guy that I had a child, let alone that I had a son. And he said to me, he said, they took him, that's what I think. I think they took him because they couldn't get you. Trade places with them. Would you trade places with them? And I'm telling you, I was so dumbfounded.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is, I mean, I would have just turned, I mean, yeah. So you're confirming what I just said.
I called you. I was really upset.
You were so upset, but at that time I was like, you know, at that point in time, Tammy, I didn't know half of this. I didn't know half of what I know today, and neither did you. I mean, we know a lot more now than we did before, but now all that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't know any. I didn't understand.
I mean, you told me you got the letters from the Illuminati. You ignored one, then they sent you another one. They sent one to your friend in California who is in Hollywood, which is a movie director.
Right.
I mean,
it's just, exactly. Yes, she got one too, and that's the only reason I found out who it was really from, and so that's why I didn't know who. They didn't say we're Illuminati, don't do that, but they made it very, very clear that they were world leaders and that they were going to fly me somewhere, and that they were some very, very high level secret society that's been around for, 400 years or something crazy.
Oh yeah, that's why. Oh yeah, this secret society has been around back to the Atlanteans. Okay, that's how old. I mean, they've been here a lot.
That I didn't know.
No, this is we're going much. I've done a lot of research recently on this. It goes a lot further, Tammy. We can have a discussion later offline. But see, I was already in the Illuminati. I was married into it, so I didn't need a letter. They got me through marriage. They hunted me down for 7 years until I finally agreed to marry Dominic. But I had no idea. I just thought it was a guy who was just like in love with me. But it took them 7 years. They finally got me that way. So they didn't get you. You weren't going to marry. You got a kid now, which they, of course, your line would have been right there. It ends right there, right? And what about your other nephew? They got her, your sister, through him, this Charles Boyer. They got her through marriage.
Didn't think about that. Wow, that's okay.
Same way I was taken by marriage, so did your sister. You weren't getting married. You weren't going again. You weren't marrying somebody that for them. You already had a son. What else are they gonna do? And do they trade you? If they would have traded you, they wouldn't have let your son go.
No, that's what
absolutely not. No, they would have just impregnated you with somebody else's genes and forced you to have a kid.
Oh my God!
You would have been a sex slave for them. Another birth mother.
Right,
another breeder. My own lawyer said, boy, this man doesn't love you after 1 year of reading. He goes, this guy never loved you. He said he used you as a birth mother. I didn't know. I almost fell off my chair. I was like, "What do you mean a birth mother?" Now all of this makes sense.
That makes sense now too. That definitely. So that makes that is starting. It's another piece of the puzzle for me. You know, just a breeder, and that's just scary. That's just and I mean.
But he knew it. Now that's another one we need to put on his list. What is his name? He directly, clearly admitted to you that he knows what's going on. What's his name? He needs to be put on this list.
He was. You know, who he looks like. He looks identical to what's the black guy's name that's on Good Morning America? Lester. Oh gosh, he's on. I can't think of his last name, but he's on Good Morning America. He looks identical to that guy. But imagine that guy like the size of a linebacker, like huge, like like over like 6'5", imagine, or whatever he was, and like the size of a refrigerator, seriously. And I don't remember his name, but I know that, I mean, my dad was right there. I mean,
Good Morning America is Michael Stratton.
The
Strahan. Michael Stratton. So he, you sure it's not him? They always put those people in media positions, you know. Most of these media people on NBC and ABC and, I mean, they're CIA agents.
Right. Well, I'm finding
they're all CIA agents.
Well, some of them CIA.
Because that's how they keep the information from getting to the public. They don't want stories like yours and mine or millions of others, all my sister warriors out there. They don't want these things out online. I mean, right. We're already on 1 hour and 47 minutes, almost 2 hours. We're going to have to cut this in part 1 and part 2. I don't know how we're going to cut this down. But, Tammy, you got to find out his name because what department was he in?
He was security for the U.S. Marshals at the Court of Claims. When you, like, literally, it's the U.S. Marshals is right in the, when you walk in the Court of Claims, the federal court right there in D.C., it is literally the front doors to the U.S. Marshal's office is right to your right. Once you go through these security, these are, like, they look like, you go through the airport, but, like every court, the big, go through security, you take your phone, they lock it up in a federal court anyways, and they give you a, So yeah, it's right there to the right, and he was one of the U.S. Marshal security is what he was.
And it was just you passing in and out, filing stuff, and out of the blue, he just turned around and said, "What are you doing?" Yeah, somebody called him in.
I mean, it was like that. We had already gone through. I already done my filing. I was leaving. I was with my dad, Earl Reef. And we were walking out of the courthouse at that time, and it was closing time at the courthouse at the end of the day, like 4 something. And he says, he grabbed me by the elbow and says, "Hey, come here. Now, this is someone my dad and I have cut up with, him and some of the other, security. We got to know them pretty well. We were in and out of there,
Oh, yeah, I do remember this. You called me very upset. You were running. That's why you were late at the FBI office, right? You were there filing for... That's it. Yes. That was the day. Yes. I remember. I'm calling you hysterically, telling me, "Damn it!" We were supposed to go together to the FBI office, and instead I ended up with somebody else going, and you were late because you were there filing forms. So, District of Columbia District Court, E. Barrett, Pretty Man, U.S. Courthouse. Is that usually? This is the U.S. Marshal Service. It's actually called Pretty Man U.S. I think that's odd. Pretty Man U.S. Courthouse. That's kind of weird, don't you think? Just the name.
That is weird.
Pretty Man. Like that looks like the little boys club pedophilia ring already named Pretty Man. So what do they do? Send all the pretty guys that are sex slaves there? 333 Constitution Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. I seriously, East Barrett, Pretty Man. I think that, and the phone number is 202-353-0600 or 9499. It's just, Yeah,
Yep.
no, I mean, you have to understand, Tammy, every single level of government is owned and run by them. That's why this is very big. It's huge, but the only way to get in there is to start exposing them and flood them with unconditional love. And we need somebody to make calls and ask questions and track and
Correct.
make the rest of the connection. Because right now you still don't know where he is. The last you've seen is so we got
No.
Australia, right? Now we're thinking, you know what? If everything that we said, we just probably said the truth. We know we're exposing the truth, but I'm saying this final part, we, if you're gonna control the bloodlines by since birth, or you rope them in. I mean, this Hollywood people, those are just slaves. Those are just decoys. That's to keep the public from looking at what they're really doing. All right?
Right.
They own the
That's right.
media to keep people or whistleblowers from exposing the truth to the masses to wake them up to find out that we're really run by pedophilia, satanic, Luciferian, Zionist, Freemasons, and Jesuits. I mean, it's all these different factions, but they're all run by the same hand. And it's really Lucifer, satanic, sick people that really don't even belong on this planet.
I agree.
Because we're food for them, and our kids
Right.
are food, and it won't stop until we start really, coming out. No whistleblowers. Hey, Trump has a whistleblower executive order to protect us. So the thing is, Tammy, what is it that you want to tell everybody right now? I mean, this is pretty much.
Okay. I want to say this. First of all, again, I am reaching out for help. I'm asking for any help in investigating the people that were involved. I know the Sullivan guy I know he's military CIA. I already know that. So anybody who is like Steve Kelly or anybody like that, I do now know that's why him and the transgender man who works with aerospace has also got a high security clearance. So that's what really we're dealing with, people that are working with certain military that are involved in child trafficking and pedophilia and child pornography in this ring that are CIA. So now I know that with the people I'm dealing with, anybody in those that are whistleblowers from that realm, I'm asking for further investigation. I know that there is others that are involved in London with something called CGHQ.
CGSQ? Say it louder.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's called, I'm sorry, I make a correction. It's G like George, C like Charlie, H like Howard, Q like Quarter. And I know that there's a connection. I was surveilled in certain places by that organization. They're connected to